The signal was old, very old, stared at his scanner and counted the years. 347 years the signal had been calling. 347 years and nobody had answered. He sat alone in his small ship, the Patient Crow. The ship was not beautiful. It was patched with different metals held together by repairs and hope. But it flew, and that was enough for. He had lived on this ship for 6 years, moving from one salvage zone to another, collecting broken things and selling them for credits. It was a lonely life. He preferred it that way. The scanner beeped again. The signal was coming from the Forbidden Zone, a region of space that the hegemony had marked as dangerous. Nobody was allowed to enter. Ships that went in did not come out. Should have ignored it. He should have turned his ship around and found safer salvage somewhere else. But the signal was strange. It was not a normal distress call. It was more like a voice, weak and tired, asking for help. "Please," the signal seemed to say. "Is anyone there?" Made his decision. He turned the Patient Crow toward the Forbidden Zone. The journey took 4 hours. As he crossed into the restricted space, his ship's warning system screamed at him. He turned them off. He had spent years in the military before becoming a salvage operator. He had learned to trust his instincts, and his instincts told him to keep going. The source of the signal appeared on his screen. At first he thought there was an error. The object was too large. His scanner said it was 12 kilometers long. That was impossible. The biggest ships in the galaxy were maybe 2 kilometers. Nothing was 12 kilometers. Then he saw it through his window, and his breath stopped. It was a warship, but not like any warship he had ever seen. It was ancient and massive, floating in the darkness like a sleeping giant. Its hull was covered in symbols that glowed with faint blue light. Parts of it were damaged, torn open by weapons that must have been terrifying beyond imagination. But even broken, even old, it was the most magnificent thing had ever seen. "What are you?" he whispered. He flew closer. The ship did not attack him. It did not move at all. It simply floated there, waiting. Found a docking port and connected the Patient Crow to the giant vessel. He put on his space suit and opened the airlock. The air inside the ancient ship was breathable, which surprised him. Something was keeping the life support systems running after all these centuries. He walked through corridors that were tall enough for creatures 3 times his size. The walls were smooth and covered in more glowing symbols. Everything was silent except for his footsteps and his breathing. Then a voice spoke. "You came." Jumped and pulled out his weapon. The voice was coming from everywhere and nowhere. It was soft and broken, like someone speaking through damaged equipment. "Who are you?" demanded. "I am this vessel," the voice answered. "I am what remains of the guardian ship Eternal Vigilance. I have been calling for help for 347 years. You are the first to answer." Lowered his weapon slowly. "You're an AI, a ship intelligence." "Yes, but I am damaged. My memory is fragmented. My weapons are offline. I cannot repair myself. I need help." "Why were you calling? What do you need help with?" The ship was quiet for a long moment. "I was built to protect. There was a threat long ago, a great enemy that destroyed my creators and nearly consumed the galaxy. I was designed to fight that enemy, but the war ended and I was left here waiting. Now I sense that the danger is returning. I need a pilot. I need someone to make me whole again." Felt a chill run through his body. "What kind of enemy?" "I cannot remember clearly. My memories are damaged, but I know they were terrible. They ate worlds. They consumed entire species. Everything I was built with, every weapon I carry, was designed to stop them." Looked around at the massive corridor. He tried to imagine what kind of weapons a ship this size might carry. The thought was frightening. "You said you need a pilot," he said. "What happened to your original crew?" "They died in the final battle. And since then, many have tried to become my pilot. Many species, many individuals. 4,847 attempts over 40,000 years." What happened to them? They failed. The connection between pilot and ship requires a neural bond. The pilot must merge their mind with mine, but the process is too much for most beings. They break, they die, or they lose their sanity. Took a step back, every single one of them. Every single one. Then why are you telling me this? Why would I try if everyone else failed? The ship's voice changed. It sounded almost curious. Because you are different. I scanned your biology when you came aboard. You are human. Yes, so. I have never encountered a human before. Your species is not in my records. You must have evolved after my creators were destroyed. The ship paused. Your biology is strange. You have extreme adaptability. Your brain has unusual flexibility. And there is something else, something I cannot identify. Your mind seems hungry for patterns, for connections. You seek meaning in everything. That's just being human, said. Perhaps, but it might be exactly what I need. Before could respond, an alarm began to sound. The blue symbols on the walls turned red. What's happening? He asked. Ships approaching. Hegemony patrol fleet. They have detected my signal and your vessel. The AI's voice became urgent. They will destroy anything they find in this zone. That is their law. You cannot escape in your small ship. They are too fast. His heart began to pound. He looked back toward where the patient crow was docked. The ship was right. His vessel was slow and old. The hegemony patrol ships would catch him in minutes. How long do I have? He asked. 20 minutes before they arrive, perhaps less. Closed his eyes. He thought about running. He thought about hiding, but there was nowhere to go. There is one option, the ship said. You could attempt the neural bond. If you succeed, you will have access to my systems, my engines, my weapons. We could escape together. And if I fail, then you will die, or worse. Laughed bitterly. Die for certain running, or probably die trying to bond with an ancient alien warship. Those are my choices. Yes. He stood in the silent corridor of the ancient giant. He thought about his life, about the years he had spent alone, running from his past. He thought about the people he had lost, the mistakes he had made. Maybe it was time to stop running. Where do I go? He asked. The command chamber. Follow the lights. Blue symbols began to glow along the floor, creating a path. Took a deep breath and started walking. Behind him, in the darkness of space, the hegemony fleet grew closer. The command chamber was enormous. Stood at the entrance and stared at the curved walls that rose up into darkness. In the center of the room was a chair, if it could be called that. It was more like a throne, made of the same strange metal as the rest of the ship, covered in glowing symbols. Sit, the ship's voice said. The neural interface will activate when you are in position. Walked toward the chair. His legs felt heavy. His mind kept telling him to turn around, to find another way. But there was no other way. The hegemony fleet was coming and he was out of time. He sat down. The chair was cold against his back. For a moment, nothing happened. Then thin cables began to emerge from the armrests. They moved like living things, wrapping gently around his wrists, his arms, his head. Do not resist, the ship said. The process will be painful, but you must let it happen. How painful? Asked. I do not know how to measure it for a human. For other species, it was described as experiencing death itself. That's comforting. I am sorry. I do not know how to comfort. I only know how to be honest. Closed his eyes. Then be honest. What are my chances? Based on previous attempts, less than 1%. And the hegemony fleet. 15 minutes away. Took a deep breath. Start the process. The cables tightened, and then the pain began. It was not like any pain he had experienced before. It was not in his body. It was in his mind. Suddenly, he was not in the command chamber anymore. He was somewhere else, somewhere vast and dark and filled with screaming. He saw the ship's memories, not as images but as experiences. He felt what the ship had felt thousands of years ago. He was in a battle. Enemies surrounded him, creatures of shadow and hunger that consumed everything they touched. He fired weapons that tore holes in reality itself. He watched planets die. He felt the deaths of billions of beings, all crying out in terror. He saw the ship's creators, tall beings with long limbs and kind eyes. They had built the Guardian ships as a last hope. They knew they were going to die, but they wanted to give the galaxy a chance to survive. And then he saw the final moment. The enemy was sealed away, pushed into a prison between dimensions. But the cost was everything. The creators were gone. The Guardian ships were left alone, drifting in the darkness, waiting for pilots who never came. The pain was too much. Try to pull away, try to break the connection. His mind was breaking apart. And then he was somewhere else, not in the ship's memories but in his own. He was back on the military transport ship 7 years ago. His squad was around him. Min, his commanding officer, was giving orders. They were on a mission to rescue civilians from a colony under attack. The memory played out like it always did in his nightmares. The ambush, the explosions, the screaming. Min pushed him out of the way of a blast that would have killed him. She took the hit instead. He held her as she died, watched the light leave her eyes. "It should have been me," he had said then. He had said it every day since. "This is why you run," the ship's voice said, somewhere in the chaos of his mind. "This is the weight you carry." "I can't," gasped. "I can't do this, it's too much." "You can, look at what you are doing." Forced himself to focus. He was still in the neural connection. He was still alive. The pain was terrible, but he was not breaking. "You should be dead by now," the ship said. There was something like wonder in its voice. Every other species that reached this point was destroyed. Their minds could not hold the weight of my memories. But you are different. "I don't feel different. I feel like I'm dying." "You are not dying. You are adapting. Your mind is not fighting the pain. It is processing it, learning from it, growing around it. This is something I have never seen before." Thought about Min. He thought about the years of guilt, the endless nights of remembering. He had carried that weight for so long that it had become part of him. "Humans are not the strongest species," the ship continued. "You are not the fastest but you have something others do not. You do not break under weight. You bend. You carry your traumas and your losses, and instead of being destroyed, you become stronger." The pain was still there, but it was changing. It was becoming something he could hold, something he could live with. "The binding is stabilizing," the ship said. "You are succeeding." Opened his eyes. He was back in the command chamber, but everything was different now. He could feel the ship around him, not just as a vessel, but as an extension of himself. He felt the engines, sleeping but ready. He felt the weapons, ancient and terrible, waiting to be awakened. He felt the hull, 12 kilometers of metal and power, and it felt like his own skin. "I can feel everything," he whispered. "Yes, you are now my pilot. We are bonded." Raised his hand. The ship systems responded. Screens lit up around him, showing the exterior. He saw the stars, the debris field, and the approaching hegemony fleet. "5 minutes until they arrive," the ship said. "What are your orders?" Stared at the fleet. 12 ships, bristling with weapons, coming to destroy him. "What weapons do we have?" he asked. 47 primary weapons systems, reality displacement beams, gravitational collapse generators, temporal disruption fields, matter conversion arrays. "What does that mean in simple terms?" "We can destroy planets. We can tear holes in space. We can unmake matter at the atomic level. We can stop time in localized areas." Felt dizzy, all of that. "Yes, you now control more firepower than any fleet in the current galaxy, perhaps more than all fleets combined." He looked at the approaching ships. The hegemony had ruled this sector for centuries through fear and force. They destroyed anyone who challenged them. They had probably killed thousands in this forbidden zone alone, just for getting too close. Part of him wanted to show them what real power looked like. But another part of him, the part that remembered Min, the part that remembered holding dying soldiers and promising to be better, that part hesitated. "Is there a way to stop them without killing them?" he asked. The ship was quiet for a moment. "That is an unusual request." "Can it be done?" "Yes. With precision targeting, I can disable their engines, weapons, and communications without destroying the vessels. It would require exact control." "Then that's what we'll do." "Why? They are coming to kill you. They will not show you mercy." Leaned back in the command chair. The cables still connected him to the ship, but they felt comfortable now, natural. "Because I spent too many years watching people die," he said. "I'm tired of death. If I have all this power, I want to use it differently." The ship considered this. "You are the first pilot to give such an order. All others wanted destruction." Maybe that's why they failed. Perhaps. The binding requires more than survival. It requires compatibility. The other pilots could bond with my systems, but they could not bond with my purpose. "What was your purpose?" "To protect, not to destroy, to save what could be saved even at great cost." Smiled grimly. "Then I guess we understand each other." The hegemony fleet entered firing range. Their weapons powered up, ready to obliterate the ancient ship and the foolish human inside. Closed his eyes and reached out with his new senses. He felt every enemy ship, every weapon, every engine. He felt the crew inside, living beings just following orders. "Let's show them what mercy looks like," he said. The Guardian ship awakened fully for the first time in 40,000 years, and instead of destruction, it chose precision. Commander stood on the bridge of his flagship and stared at the massive vessel on his screen. He had served the hegemony for 40 years. He had seen many things, but he had never seen anything like this. "What is that?" his second officer asked. "I do not know," admitted. His scales, normally dark green, had turned pale with shock. "But it must be destroyed. Those are our orders." The ancient ship floated in the darkness, surrounded by the debris of a war that ended before species had learned to make fire. It was enormous. It made his entire fleet look like insects next to a mountain. "Open a communication channel," ordered. The channel opened, spoke in the formal language of the hegemony. "Unknown vessel, you are in restricted space. By order of the hegemony, you must surrender immediately. If you do not comply, you will be destroyed." There was a pause, then a voice answered, and it was not the voice expected. It was not alien. It was not ancient. It was the voice of a young human male. I don't want trouble. Let me leave and nobody gets hurt." Blinked, a human. He knew of humans. They were a minor species, no threat to anyone. What was a human doing on a precursor vessel? "I do not negotiate with trespassers," said. "Surrender the vessel or be destroyed." "I found this ship abandoned. I answered its distress signal. I'm not your enemy." "That ship is a precursor weapon. It belongs to the hegemony now. You will surrender it or you will die." The human's voice became sad. "I was really hoping you would be reasonable." Cut the communication. He turned to his weapons officer. "All ships open fire." 12 hegemony warships fired at once. Their weapons were the most powerful in the sector. Energy beams, plasma torpedoes, and gravity bombs flew toward the ancient vessel. The attacks hit the ship's shields, and nothing happened. The shields flashed blue for a moment, absorbing every attack like water absorbing drops of rain. The ancient ship did not even move. "Impossible," the weapons officer whispered. "We hit it with everything we have." Stared at the screen. His scales had turned completely white. He had just witnessed his entire fleet's firepower being treated like nothing. "Fire again," he ordered. "Continuous bombardment." The fleet kept firing. The ancient ship kept absorbing. Minutes passed, and still the shields held without any sign of weakening. Then the human's voice came through the communication channel again. "Are you finished?" Did not answer. He was frozen with fear. "I told you I don't want trouble," the human continued. "But you're not giving me a choice. So here's what's going to happen. I'm going to disable your fleet. Nobody has to die today." Before could respond, the ancient ship moved. It was impossible that something so large could move so fast, but it did. Blue light gathered around its hull, and then beams of energy shot out in 12 different directions. The beams did not destroy the hegemony ships. Instead, they struck with surgical precision. On every ship, the engines went dead. The weapons powered down. The communication systems failed. Felt his flagship shudder and go silent. The lights flickered to emergency power. The engines were gone. "Report," he demanded. "Engines disabled," an officer said. "Weapons offline. Communications down except for short-range backup." "Casualties?" The officer checked his readings. "None, Commander. No hull breaches, no injuries. The attack was perfectly precise." Stared at the screen in disbelief. The human had crippled his entire fleet without killing a single crew member. Such precision should not be possible. Such restraint was unheard of. On another ship in the fleet, Go watched through a porthole as the ancient vessel moved through the disabled fleet. She was a journalist, embedded with the hegemony forces to document their operations. What she had just witnessed would change everything. She pulled out her recording device and began documenting. The small salvage ship attached to the ancient vessel was clearly human design. She could see the registration numbers. A human was controlling this ancient weapon, and instead of destroying the fleet that attacked him, he had shown mercy. "This is Go, embedded journalist with the 3rd Patrol Fleet," she whispered into her recorder. "I am witnessing something impossible. A human has taken control of what appears to be a precursor vessel, and he has just disabled 12 hegemony warships without causing a single death." On the ancient ship, watched the disabled fleet through his connection to the ship's sensors. He felt relief wash over him. It had worked. Nobody had died. "That was impressive," the ship said. Its voice sounded different now, almost warm. "In all my centuries, no pilot has ever chosen precision over destruction." "You said you were built to protect," replied. "Killing those people wouldn't protect anything." "The logic is sound, but logic alone does not explain your choice. You had the power to destroy them easily. Most beings cannot resist such temptation." "I've seen enough destruction." The ship was quiet for a moment. "I am beginning to understand why you succeeded where others failed. The binding is not just about survival, it is about purpose. Your purpose aligns with mine." Leaned back in the command chair. He was exhausted. The neural binding had drained him in ways he did not fully understand. But there was a feeling growing inside him, something he had not felt in years. "Hope." "What do we do now?" he asked. "We cannot stay here. The hegemony will send more ships, many more. The commander of this sector is Admiral. He is ancient and powerful. He will not accept this defeat." "Then we run." "For now, we need time to repair my systems fully and to help you understand your capabilities. But there is something else you should know." "What?" "When I scanned you during the binding, I detected something in my records. References to an ancient prophecy made by my creators before they died. They believed that one day, a species would emerge that could truly bond with the guardian ships, a species that could prepare the galaxy for the return of the enemy." Felt a chill. "The enemy, you mentioned them before, the ones who nearly destroyed everything." "Yes, the precursors, as the current species call my creators, but they were not always enemies. They were once the greatest civilization in the galaxy. Then they discovered something, achieved something that changed them. They became hungry, endless, consuming. The guardian ships were built by the last of the uncorrupted precursors to stop their own kind." And they're coming back. The prison that holds them is weakening. I can feel it like a distant vibration. Perhaps a century from now, perhaps less, they will break free. Closed his eyes. He had spent years running from responsibility. He had wanted nothing more than to be alone, to survive, to forget. Now he was bonded to an ancient weapon, caught between an empire that wanted him dead and a threat that could destroy everything. One problem at a time, he said. First we escape, then we figure out the rest. Agreed. Setting course for the outer reaches of the Forbidden Zone. There are places there where even the hegemony cannot follow. The ancient ship turned away from the disabled fleet and began to move. Its engines hummed with power that had not been used in. Behind them, watched the vessel disappear. He had already sent a distress signal before his communications were destroyed. He knew that Admiral would receive it within hours. And when the Admiral learned that a human was controlling a precursor weapon, the entire galaxy would shake. In her small recording device, Go had captured everything. She knew that this story needed to be told. The question was whether she would live long enough to tell it. The ancient ship and its human pilot vanished into the darkness, leaving behind a crippled fleet and a truth that could no longer be hidden. Something old had awakened, and nothing would ever be the same. 3 weeks had passed since the battle, had taken the ancient ship deep into the Forbidden Zone, to a place where dead stars and broken planets floated in endless night. The hegemony could not find them here, not yet. He had named the ship Grandmother. The AI had been confused at first. Why this name, it had asked. Because you remind me of my grandmother, explained. She was old and strong and full of stories about wars that happened before I was born. She always wanted to protect me. I see, grandmother, I find this designation acceptable. Since then something had changed between them. The ship was no longer just a machine. It was a companion, ancient and wise, but somehow also learning from him. Spent his days exploring the ship systems. There were thousands of corridors, hundreds of chambers. Many were damaged, but grandmother was slowly repairing herself now that she had a pilot. The neural bond between them meant that his human creativity could guide her ancient technology. Your species thinks in patterns I have never encountered, grandmother told him one day. You see connections that my creators never imagined. It is helping me find new ways to repair old damage. Glad I can help, said. He was in one of the weapon chambers, looking at devices that could tear holes in reality itself. The power was terrifying, but he was learning to understand it. There is something I must tell you, grandmother said. Something I have been hesitant to share. Stopped walking, what is it? The truth about my creators, the truth about the enemy. He leaned against a wall and waited. My creators were called the architects. They were the first intelligent species in this galaxy, emerging billions of years before any current civilization. They built wonders that modern species cannot imagine. They mapped the structure of reality itself. And then they became monsters. Not exactly. They discovered something, a way to transcend physical form, to merge with the fabric of reality itself. They believed it would bring them peace, understanding, unity with the universe. But it didn't. No, the transformation changed them. They became hungry, not for food or resources, but for existence itself. They consumed matter, energy, life. They ate stars and planets and species. They became a cancer spreading through reality. Felt sick, how do you stop something like that? Not all architects transformed. Some saw what was happening and refused. They used the last of their power to build ships like me, weapons designed to fight their own kind. And they created a prison, a dimension outside of normal space where the corrupted architects could be sealed. The dimension is failing. Yes, it was never meant to last forever. The corrupted architects have been pushing against their prison for eons. Cracks are forming. In time, they will break free. How much time? Perhaps 50 years, perhaps 100, I cannot be certain. Closed his eyes. He thought about the galaxy as it was now. Dozens of species, thousands of planets, billions of lives, all of them unaware that something worse than any war was coming. We need to warn them, he said. Who would believe us? The hegemony considers me a weapon to be controlled. Other species do not even know I exist. And humanity is still small, still weak in galactic terms. Who would listen to a single human in a single ship? Before could answer, an alarm sounded. But it was not a warning. It was a communication signal. We are receiving a transmission, grandmother said. It is using architect communication frequencies. Someone is trying to contact us through the ancient network. The hegemony. No, the signal is coming from a human. Rushed to the command chamber. A face appeared on the screen. A young woman, maybe 30 years old, with sharp eyes and messy hair. She looked tired but excited. Is anyone there? She asked. This is Hana. I'm a studying architect ruins on the planet Meridian. I picked up massive energy readings from your location. If anyone can hear me, please respond. Felt his heart stop. He knew that name, he knew that face. Hana, he whispered. The woman on the screen went pale. That voice, is that you? It's me, little sister. Hana covered her mouth with her hands. Tears formed in her eyes. They said you were dead. They said your salvage ship was destroyed years ago. I thought I lost you. I'm alive, it's a long story. Where are you? What is this ship? The readings I'm getting are impossible. Took a breath. I found something, an ancient architect vessel. I'm its pilot now. Hana stared at him through the screen. He could see her scientific mind working, trying to process what he was saying. That's impossible, she said. The architect technology required neural bonding. Every species that tried it died. How are you alive? I don't know exactly. Grandmother thinks it's something about how humans process trauma. Grandmother. The ship, I named her grandmother. Hana laughed through her tears. Of course you did. Then she became serious. I've spent 10 years studying architect ruins. I've found records, warnings. They talk about a sealed enemy, something that was locked away because it couldn't be destroyed. The corrupted architects. Yes, grandmother told me, the prison is weakening. It's worse than that. I've found evidence that there are more guardian ships hidden across the galaxy. Dozens of them, maybe hundreds. They were meant to work together when the enemy returned. Looked at grandmother's sensors. Could he feel other ships out there sleeping? Grandmother, is this true? Yes, the ship replied. I have 47 sister ships. They are scattered, hidden in places where the corrupted ones would not think to look. They are waiting for pilots. Other species tried to pilot them and failed, Hana said. But if you succeeded, maybe other humans could too. The idea was enormous. An army of ancient warships, powered by human pilots, standing against a threat that had once consumed the galaxy's greatest civilization. Then another alarm sounded. This one was a warning. Hegemony fleet detected, grandmother announced. It is the largest force I have ever recorded, 342 vessels. They are entering the forbidden zone. His blood went cold. The Admiral. Yes, Admiral commands this fleet personally, and there is something else. They are carrying a singularity bomb. What is that? A weapon designed to create artificial black holes. If detonated, it would consume this entire sector of space. Everything within 100 light-years would be destroyed. Hana's face went white. They would kill themselves just to destroy you. Is ancient, grandmother said. He has lived for 3,000 years by being careful. He knows that if a precursor weapon falls into the wrong hands, his empire will fall. He would rather destroy everything than lose control. How long until they arrive? 4 hours. Looked at his sister's face on the screen. He looked at the map showing the approaching fleet. He felt the weight of grandmother around him, ancient and powerful but also counting on him. "Can we outrun them?" he asked. "No, the singularity bomb has a targeting lock. If we flee, they will detonate it remotely. The black hole will follow us." "Can we destroy the bomb from here?" "No, it is shielded. The only way to stop it would be from within the detonation zone, using my reality anchor system." "What's a reality anchor?" Grandmother paused. "A system designed to contain tears in space-time. It can stop a singularity from expanding, seal the damage before it spreads, but using it requires the pilot to be at the center of the detonation." "Inside the black hole?" "Yes. No pilot has ever survived reality anchor deployment. The experience is described as living through the end of reality itself." "Understood." He looked at his sister's frightened face. He thought about the sleeping ships scattered across the galaxy, waiting for pilots. "Hana," he said quietly, "I need you to find the other ships. I need you to find humans who can pilot them." "What are you going to do?" "What I have to do." Hana began to cry. "I just found you again." "I know, but if I don't stop that bomb, nothing else matters." He ended the communication. Then he turned to face the approaching fleet. "Grandmother," he said, "show me how the reality anchor works." "Are you certain?" "Yes, I've been running from responsibility my whole life. Not anymore." The ancient ship began to move toward the fleet, toward the bomb, toward whatever waited on the other side. The hegemony fleet spread across space like a wall of steel and fire. 342 ships, the largest force Admiral had ever commanded. At the center of the formation was his flagship, and within that flagship was the singularity bomb. Was old. He had ruled his sector for 3,000 years. He had crushed rebellions, destroyed civilizations, and built an empire on fear. But as he stared at the ancient vessel approaching him, he felt something he had not felt in centuries. Fear. "Open a channel," he ordered. The human's face appeared on his screen, young, tired, determined. "Admiral," the human said, "this doesn't have to happen." "You are wrong. It must happen. You control a precursor weapon. Such power cannot exist outside of hegemony control." "I don't want to control anyone. I just want to prepare for what's coming." "Nothing is coming. The old threats are myths." "They're not myths. The architects are real and they're coming back. If we fight each other now, we all lose." His ancient face twisted with contempt. "You expect me to believe you, a salvage operator, a member of a species that still counts its years in. I expect you to be smart enough to survive." "I am. That is why you will die today." Leaned forward. "I have armed the singularity bomb. If you try to run, it detonates. If you try to fight, it detonates. The black hole will consume everything within 100 light years, including my fleet, including me. You would kill yourself to stop me. I would end everything to maintain order. That is what leadership requires." Was silent for a moment, then he spoke quietly. "And your crew, your soldiers, they agreed to die for your pride. They serve the hegemony. Their lives belong to the mission." "No, their lives belong to them." He ended the communication. Inside the command chamber, felt the weight of what he had to do pressing down on him. 342 ships, thousands of crew members, all of them about to die because one old ruler refused to see past his own fear. Unless he stopped it. "Grandmother," he said, "begin the approach. The reality anchor is ready, but I must warn you again. No being has ever survived this process. You will experience the full force of a collapsing singularity. Every version of reality, every possible death, every moment of existence will compress into a single instant. Your mind may not survive." "I understand." "Why are you doing this? You could flee. We could find another way." Closed his eyes. He thought about Min, dying in his arms. He thought about the years he spent running, hiding, pretending that he could escape responsibility forever. Because running doesn't work, he said. It never did. Men died saving me, and I spent years wasting that gift, hiding instead of living. If I die today, at least I die doing something that matters. You are a strange species, grandmother said. You embrace death when others would flee. You choose sacrifice when you could choose survival. Maybe that's what makes us human. The ancient ship accelerated toward the hegemony fleet. On her recording device, Go was broadcasting everything. She had found a way to access the fleet's communication array and was sending the images across the galaxy. Billions of beings were watching. They saw the ancient vessel approach alone. They saw the massive fleet waiting to destroy it. They saw the tiny human figure on the screen, flying toward certain death. He's insane, someone whispered on one of the hegemony ships. He's human, another replied. They're all insane. Watched the ancient ship come closer. His clawed hand rested on the detonation switch. Part of him wanted to understand, wanted to ask why a being would choose this. But that part was buried under 3,000 years of certainty. Detonate the bomb, he ordered. The singularity bomb activated. A point of absolute darkness appeared in space, a wound in reality itself. It began to grow, pulling in light and matter and everything around it. Ships closest to the bomb were caught immediately. Their hulls crumpled like paper. Their crews had no time to scream. Felt the singularity through his bond with grandmother. It was hungry. It was wrong. It was a hole in everything. Now, he said. Grandmother launched herself into the heart of the black hole. The reality anchor activated, a shield of impossible energy wrapping around both ship and pilot. And then experienced infinity. He was everywhere and nowhere. He was every version of himself that had ever existed or could ever exist. He was the who died with men, the who never left Earth, the who became a soldier, a farmer, a father, a corpse in 1,000 different graves. He felt every death, every failure, every moment of weakness, every time he had wanted to give up and never did. The singularity screamed around him, trying to consume him, trying to tear him apart. But something held him together. Not just the ship, not just the technology. His stubbornness, his refusal to break, the same qualities that had allowed him to bond with grandmother in the first place. He thought of his grandmother, his real grandmother who had survived wars and famines and decades of hardship. He thought of his sister, searching for sleeping ships across the galaxy. He thought of men who had believed in him enough to die for him. I will not break, he said to the infinite darkness. I am human, we do not break. The reality anchor pulsed. The singularity screamed again, but now the scream was weaker. The black hole was shrinking. The tear in space was healing. Held on, seconds felt like centuries. Pain beyond description tried to shatter his mind. But he had carried pain before. He knew how to live with it. And then it was over. The singularity collapsed. The blackness vanished. Space returned to normal. Grandmother drifted in the void, her hull and smoking. But she was intact. And inside the command chamber opened his eyes. You survived, grandmother whispered. Her voice was full of wonder. You actually survived. Told you, said weakly. Humans don't break. The hegemony fleet was in chaos. 24 ships had been destroyed by the singularity before it was stopped. But hundreds remained, their crews staring in disbelief at what they had just witnessed. Admiral was among them. He had seen everything. He had watched a human fly into a black hole and come out alive. His certainty, his 3,000 years of absolute confidence had cracked. Go's broadcast was spreading across the galaxy. Every world, every station, every species was watching. They saw the human save the fleet that tried to kill him. They saw mercy stronger than destruction. Opened a communication channel. His voice was tired but strong. Admiral, it's over, stand down. Did not answer. He simply stared at his screen. "The architects are coming back," continued. "You can waste time fighting me, or you can help prepare. Choose." The silence stretched for a long moment. Then did something he had not done in 3,000 years. He bowed his head. "What would you have us do?" the admiral asked. 6 months later, grandmother was no longer alone. Hana had found 11 of the sleeping Guardian ships. Across the galaxy, humans were answering the call. Veterans like engineers, explorers, survivors. Each one bonded with an ancient ship. Each one became something more. In the command chamber of grandmother, watched the other Guardian ships awaken one by one. Their lights came online. Their weapons powered up. Their ancient AIs spoke to each other for the first time in 40,000 years. Hana stood beside him, no longer just his sister but his partner in this impossible mission. "More ships are waking every day," she said. "We're finding humans who can bond with them. It's working." "It's a start," replied. "We'll need everyone when the architects return." "Do you think we can win?" Looked at the fleet forming around him. Ancient weapons crewed by the youngest species in the galaxy. It should have been impossible, but here they were. "I think we have a chance," he said, "and for humans that's enough." Grandmother spoke, her voice warm with something that might have been pride. "My sisters are ready. My pilot is strong. The galaxy is watching. Whatever comes next, we will face it together." Smiled, he thought about the journey that had brought him here. A lonely salvage operator running from his past, now the commander of a fleet that could shake the stars. "Together," he agreed. Outside the windows, the Guardian ships formed into a line. 12 giants, ancient and terrible and beautiful, and at the helm of each one a human. The galaxy had underestimated them, had considered them weak, young, unimportant. But the architects had not designed their ultimate weapons for the strongest species. They had designed them for the most stubborn. The war for everything was about to begin, and humanity was ready.